Hello! Today I'm going to be sharing my go-to chocolate cake recipe. So this is a one-pot recipe, so I like to get all of my ingredients ready beforehand, but since you do have to work a little bit quickly, just to make sure that your butter doesn't solidify before you get everything in, also because adding in the baking soda into this recipe is a little time sensitive. So we're going to start by melting together 3/4 of a cup of butter and 3/4 of a cup of black coffee or black tea. This brings out the flavor of the chocolate with the contrast of bitter and sweet, and it is also replacing the milk in a typical cake batter, which gives the cake moisture. Once it is completely melted and combined, you want to take your pot off of the heat, and this is what we're going to be mixing our batter in. So we're going to start out by adding in the chocolate and the cocoa powder, and I would actually recommend that you chop your chocolate pretty finely. I just broke it into the pieces that the chocolate bar came in, but it does make it a little bit more difficult to make sure that everything is incorporated, and it'll just take a little bit longer for the chocolate to melt in. And you want to whisk to make sure that there aren't any lumps of chocolate or cocoa left in your batter. Then you want to add in 1 cup of brown sugar and 1/2 teaspoon of salt, as well as 1.5 teaspoons of vanilla extract. We actually use brown sugar in this recipe because brown sugar is an acidic ingredient, so when you're going to put in your baking soda, they will actually react, and that's what makes the cakes rise in the oven. Then we're going to add in 3 eggs and 2 egg yolks. Mix that together, combining very well, and then we are going to put in our flour and our 1.5 teaspoons of baking soda. Now, this recipe, you actually need to get the cakes into the oven as quickly as possible, just because as time goes on, the baking soda becomes less activated as it sits out at room temperature, because the reaction actually starts as soon as you add in your baking soda, and it won't fully react until it's put into the oven, since it produces a gas once exposed to heat. Now let's line our cupcake tins and start scooping the batter. I use an ice cream scoop to fill in my cupcake tins. I fill them up about 3/4 of the way, like 2/3, 3/4 of the way, but usually just 1 ice cream scoop is enough, or you can just eyeball it. And this recipe makes 18 cupcakes, or if you're going to make a layer cake, you can make 2 9-inch rounds with it. And then we are going to put these into the oven for 20 to 22 minutes, or until they are at an internal temperature of 210 degrees. Now, the frosting that I used for these cupcakes was a peanut butter frosting, but I actually do not have a frosting recipe because every time I just sort of wing it. I start out with 1 cup of butter, and then I slowly add in powdered sugar, making sure that it becomes light and fluffy, and then I'll add in a little bit of milk if it gets too thick, and I just keep mixing and mixing until it comes to a nice consistency. And with this frosting, I just replaced some of the butter with peanut butter. And I also garnished with a piece of chocolate just for a simple, elegant design. And there you have it, a simple chocolate cake recipe that works with any flavor combination. Thanks for watching.